Welcome to W&L Sports Weekly. I'm Jeremy Franklin. This week we'll speak with women's lacrosse coach Brooke O'Brien, men's tennis captain Will Bannister, and men's lacrosse captain Kyle Gifford. But first, a quick look back at the weekend in Washington in the athletics. Men's track and field won the program's first ODAC title in 28 years, claiming the indoor championship in Salem. Ian McDonald, Max Strahler, Patrick Robertson, Davis Turner, and Shep Sims all won events for the Generals, while Brandon Yule was named Coach of the Year. Meanwhile, Dana Lee, Samantha Yates, and Lizzie Stanton produced first-place finishes for the women's team, which came in second overall. Joe Scott won the 165-pound weight class to lead wrestling at the NCAA East Regional, where W&L placed 10th out of 19 teams. Scott and Zach Billikbashi both qualified for the Division III championship. At the ODAC basketball tournament, the W&L men upset second-seeded Randolph-Macon 78-67 in the quarterfinals before falling 69-67 to Emory Henry in a semifinal matchup. Women's hoops dropped a 72-55 quarterfinal decision to eventual champion Guilford. Elsewhere, baseball took 2 out of 3 games in a home series against Franklin and Marshall. Women's tennis beat Christopher Newport 8-1, while men's tennis swept Virginia Wesleyan before falling 6-3 to 16th-ranked Johns Hopkins. Men's lacrosse lost 11-9 on the road against Washington College, and women's lacrosse picked up a huge early season victory, defeating 4th-ranked Franklin and Marshall 9-3 at Watt Field. Joining me now is women's lacrosse coach Brooke O'Brien. Brooke, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
How significant is that victory over F&M for your program?
Yeah, we're very excited about it. Obviously, it's early in the season, and our focus is to take it one game at a time. But to have that kind of result against a team that has been truly a Final Four team the last few years is exciting for us. And I think we're seeing the hard work we've put in and the preparation we've had is starting to pay off.
In that game, W&L forced 25 turnovers and really neutralized a powerful Franklin and Marshall attack. What led to such a great defensive performance?
I think we've switched some things up defensively. We're playing a new scheme defensively that I think is really helping us. We've had some great goalkeeping play as well, and not only in shot stopping, but in picking off feeds and winning loose balls and handling pressure on the clear. And I think just overall, we've got a very seasoned team on the field. A lot of juniors and seniors playing, which really helps us have a sense of calm and confidence going into each game.
The win over Franklin and Marshall moved your record to 3-0. You also have quality road victories over Mary Washington and Christopher Newport. How can you build off of this great start, especially with more tough non-conference games coming up?
Yeah, obviously we're right where we were hoping to be at this point in the season, and now it's a matter of, again, taking it just 1 week at a time, 1 game at a time, and really focusing on whatever opponent is in front of us and making sure that that has our full focus. And if we do that the whole way through the season, we'll be where we want to be in May.
Where do you want to be in May? What are the General's goals for this year?
Yeah, obviously it starts in the ODAC. We want to win the ODAC once again. And then outside of that, we're looking to really send the program further than it's been recently nationally. So that would mean, getting to an Elite 8 Final Four bid and then reevaluating our goals from there.
Brooke, thanks for joining us. Good luck throughout the year.
Thank you.
With me in the studio is Will Bannister, senior tennis captain from Bath, England. Will, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
W&L just lost a very competitive 6-3 match to a Johns Hopkins team that is ranked 16th in Division III. What did Sunday's results tell you about this year's team?
I think it was an encouraging performance, maybe a disappointing result. But if you look at the results, we were very close, especially in singles. I think a few points here and there. And we could have ended up taking 4 of the 6 singles, which would have turned the match over. And we also put a encouraging set of performances in doubles. We got a doubles point off them for the first time since I've been at W&L, so I would say overall it was very encouraging.
You were an all-ODAC performer at number 3 singles in 2016. You moved up a spot on the ladder. How are you adjusting to the number 2 position this year?
Last year I played a couple of matches at 2 because of some injuries to some top lineup players. So I got a bit of experience. But overall, I'd say every match at this level at this point is very competitive. But that's the fun of it. You want to play competitive matches, so you just got to embrace the challenge of playing higher up in the lineup and sort of match the results from last year, I guess, for me personally, I guess.
The Generals face Swarthmore and Sewanee this weekend. A couple of weeks down the road, you go to Mary Washington and Christopher Newport. A lot of big regional matches coming up. With that in mind, how important are these next few weeks?
Well, these next few weeks are crucial. If we practice well, with focus, we can get some really good results and make a big push up the rankings. They're all those 4 teams you mentioned in sort of around the 20s, high 30s in the rankings. That's where we want to be and move up. So these next few weeks could shape where we end up at the end of the season.
What are the Generals' expectations for 2017?
So I'd say the expectations we have is, of course, first is to win the ODAC championship, and from there, in terms of rankings, we want to be in around top 20. I think that's where the talent of our team can take us, and we want to make at least a round of 16 in the NCAA tournament, which is something we haven't done in my time here.
Will, thanks for joining us. Best of luck throughout the spring.
Thank you very much.
Here with me now is Kyle Gifford, junior lacrosse captain from Darien, Connecticut. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
W&L is 2-2 on the season. You had great wins over Christopher Newport and Denison, close calls against York and Washington College. Overall, how did February go for the team?
I think it was an up and down month. Obviously, we want to be 4-0 coming out of February anytime, but I think we really learned some valuable lessons. We have a really young team. I think, as Coach mentioned in our last game against Washington College, of the 23 people who touched the field, 14 were freshmen and sophomores. So, there's a lot of valuable lessons to be learned. Obviously, very talented individuals, but still things you can't replicate in practice that I think, we really got the hang of in terms of closing out a game after a tough loss to York. We really battled back. Denison game, scored 9 straight goals at the end of the third and into the fourth quarter. So, important lessons learned, but we have a lot to take forward with us.
The Generals had a great 2016 campaign. You won the ODAC title, advanced to the round of 16 in the NCAA tournament. Each year's team is different, of course, but how can you build off of the success that you had last season?
We didn't really stray too far from the goals that we had last season. We learned to, start with a base foundation of building team chemistry and winning every day from a practice standpoint, and obviously when we're playing in games. But sort of the way we're approaching it this year is from a pyramid structure. Obviously, team chemistry and winning every day is that base layer, and that's how you get to winning an ODAC championship and obviously competing in the NCAA tournament and competing for a national championship. So we haven't strayed too far from those. I think that we had a great experience last year, but as you mentioned, new team, new individuals, and we're looking to put our stamp on the history books here.
W&L lost a pair of All-Americans from the defensive side in 2016, but you returned after starting 18 games and earning all ODAC honors last season. How do you view your leadership role, especially with the defense?
It's really tough losing guys like Buck, Wyatt, Andrew Reel, Will Douthit, Bobby DiStefano. All were, very valuable members of the defense. But like I said, we're a pretty young team. A lot of freshmen and sophomores contributing, guys like John Broderick, Paul Callahan, and then myself and Riley Wilson are more experienced in that end. And we got, great teammates like Jason Myers and Matt Huber and Walker Brown on the come up with Evans Allison. So again, it's a really, interesting mix of experience with young talent, really great athletes, and we're having some learning struggles, I guess you could, so to speak, at the beginning of the year, but that'll come with any young team, and I'm extremely confident that in the next 2 weeks you're going to start to see the Generals defense come into its own.
The ODAC schedule starts with the date at Hampton City on March 11th. How important are your next 2 games against Franklin and Marshall and Mary Washington as you get set for conference play?
Similar to what I talked about with the lessons learned from the month of February, obviously some ups and downs. Coach McCabe always schedules a really competitive out-of-conference schedule to prepare us for in-conference play. I think we learned important lessons in February, and I think we have to move forward from a tough loss to Washington College this past weekend with important games against F&M and Mary Wash. Just in terms of really coming to play, not getting caught up in rankings and whatnot. It's just really important to play our brand of lacrosse, which we've come to have embedded in our DNA at this point after fall ball and a really long, good preseason. We're playing fast lacrosse. We're playing very patient and 6-on-6 offense. Sound, fundamental physical defense. It's really going to come into its own. I think it's really important to take steps in the right direction this weekend and then the following week. So we're really looking forward to opening conference play, but definitely not looking past any good opportunities to improve going into it.
Kyle, thanks for joining us. Good luck throughout the year.
Of course, thanks for having me.
It's time now for a look at the upcoming weekend. There's a full slate of home action on Saturday. Men's tennis will play host to Swarthmore in the morning, while women's tennis meets ODAC foe Emory Henry later in the day. Baseball will face Penn State Harrisburg for a doubleheader, which starts at noon. Women's lacrosse takes on 7th-ranked Salisbury, and men's lacrosse entertains Franklin and Marshall. Both tennis teams will also be in action on Sunday. The men will battle Sewanee, while the women get set for conference matches against Virginia Wesleyan and Guilford. For W&L Sports Weekly, I'm Jeremy Franklin. Thanks for watching.